What's going on, guys? It is Laser here with another weekend video analysis. It's 11:43 a.m. on a Saturday. I'm here to share with you what I see going on for NIO going into next week. We had a pretty interesting Friday, a minus 5.76% Friday. We're going to go ahead. We're going to dive into NIO, but we will be looking at Baidu and Baba, which have been super exciting. We will be looking at the Hang Seng Index. We'll look at the US dollar. We're going to try and look at everything today. But if you recall last week, in my last week's video, and if you missed it, in my last week's video, I talked about there being a parabolic rally on the horizon. I truly believe that there's going to be a huge parabolic rally that will be taking place very, very, very soon here. And if you watch my last week's video, I had this parallel channel kind of drawn out from last time. That's how I ended the video. So I guess it would be appropriate to kind of start here. I believe what you're going to try and see now is a push and retest towards that $12 area, which is going to be a major battle and pivot. But to me, from what I see on the velocity, I see nothing but beautiful. I absolutely love it. Now, at some point in time, you guys, we will see a correctional move. This move has been pretty awesome so far. Did it hit what did it hit? 768. Just a couple pennies off of barely hitting it. And I think it still has a chance to do that. We won't know until we look at some of the smaller time frames, which is what we are going to do here in today's video. I apologize for not being providing any updates later this week. I've been quite busy. I've been doing a lot of things in my life. One of them is I've been spending a lot more time outdoors. I've been spending a lot more time going for walks, trying to get healthy, trying to eat healthy. And ultimately, throughout the week when I was looking at NIO, I just didn't know. I wasn't confident enough. It's at a point now, I think we're entering, in my opinion, almost uncharted territories where it's going to be a little bit more difficult for me to actually measure where it goes or where the price is going. And we'll do that by looking at the velocity. But let's jump right in here. We're going to start off at the weekly time frame. As you know, I did a whole presentation on how significant it is being above that 3.5 line and why that's important. And you can see how different and how much velocity. The last time the weekly velocity has been this high, I mean, it takes us back essentially to 2020 and to 2022, which was different on the way down. So that is a huge move. At some point in time, though, and this is just my thinking because this is a nice, beautiful, huge move, you're going to get a little bit of a pullback before this thing decides to go absolutely crazy. I think that's what I'm thinking. There's going to be some sort of correctional move. Now, whether maybe it looks like that, or maybe it looks just like this. I mean, I don't know. It's because I've been following this almost for 2 years now, since October, and we're basically in uncharted territories for NIO. So I'm going to honestly let you know that I'm not super confident exactly how this is all going to play out, but I do believe a parabolic rally is on the horizon. Now let's jump into the 24-hour time frame. Now, when I look at the 24-hour time frame, we are still so a couple things here. We're still above this major trend line. So the trend is still bullish. Any type of dip that you do get, we got one right here. We got a huge one right there. And there was this long elongated one right there. Those dips are going to be designed for bulls to gobble up. Until this line is done and defeated, these dips are designed for bulls to eat up. And so it is safe to assume that if you get a pullback or you get like a dip, you will get a bounce and it will come right back to it. So long as this is held. So long as that line is held there, bulls are still in control. Now, I want to highlight something to you. We did make a lower high on the velocity. Now, when you're trying to measure a trend, which this trend is obviously bullish, you can just use a trend line to do that, but higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Now, finally, there's a lower low, which is okay. It doesn't necessarily change the low. Sometimes that can happen. Now, so long as you get a higher high here, and then follow it up with the higher low. This would be a higher low. And if it follows up with another higher high, you can continue with this trend. The trend is still bullish. When this trend becomes bearish, and this is what I will be watching for, and I don't see it yet. I don't see it just quite yet. But when the trend becomes bearish is when you get now a lower low. Okay, so higher high, that was your higher low. Lower high, lower low. What that would mean is lower high, you're in now a downtrend. Okay, bears are now kind of jumping in here. And I wouldn't call them in control because you can see well above this line. And I still think if there's any type of dip, that's a gift for anyone who wants to kind of get into this play. So let's erase here. And like I said, just this trend line here, I'll do a better job making it a little bit more neat. I kind of had it drawn like that. I think that's pretty healthy. I mean, like, so long as it's holding above 579, 6 into next week, so long as you're up there, these dips are designed for bulls. So even if you see like a big red candle, just remember this thing is still alive so far from a bullish perspective. Now, if we go down to the 12 hours, you're not really getting too much information here. You did see a bearish divergence. Buyers are getting a little bit tapped out. Okay, so yes, it was able to push higher, but it did so on lower velocity. It's not the end of the world, but notice the price is pushing higher, but it didn't do it with as much enthusiasm here. You couldn't say the same here. So notice the high here, which was last year, July 21st. Velocity pushed up. We hit right up there, and you'll notice this high made a new high. A lot more enthusiasm, a lot more acceleration. This move didn't quite get it there. And for me, we have not hit that 778 zone. And perhaps we're still going to get that. So we'll keep diving down there. Now, I want to actually point out something interesting here. Notice exactly where it bounced earlier in the week. It bounced right on that previous high. A very, very interesting spot here, actually. Decent spot here to be bouncing. Now, if we go to the 4 hours here, and I take a look here on the 4 hours, I'm seeing now a bearish divert. This was a bearish. The buyers are really getting tired here. Okay, that's normal. Eventually, buyers get tired, and the thing kind of comes back down and cools off. So this was a bearish divergence right up here at $7.70, and then at 768 was. I mean, I guess it wasn't really a fully bearish divergence, but it is something to keep in mind that buyers are slowing down. 2 hours. Okay. You're not really getting too much new information, although we're getting to a point of hit. It did hit a lower low here. So sellers are coming forward, especially as they did on Friday. And then on the 1 hour, I'm sure it shows it. On the 1 hour, we've now broken the 200-day moving average. The 1 hour has broken under. And I'm just wondering here, just looking at this, is this another bull flag forming here? That could be like your first breakout. You can see this clearly on the 1 hour. And I'm just curious if that's what's forming here. And if you'll get, like, if there's going to be continuation, you'd want to see a second, like kind of like that second breakout kind of take place here. That's what I'm wondering. It's very interesting here, because if this thing is to continue up, let's see, where did we hit? I find it weird it didn't hit 780. I think it was like that. The 1.61. And if we call that an entire move, by the way, let's say this is like an entire move. And delete that. At some point, this thing is going to give you more of a larger correction. And I'm wondering if like $6 is a potential spot. But to me, that wouldn't be a big correction. That would be like a very shallow correction. And you might be able to potentially see potential. I'm just putting that out there. By the way, this still remains very bullish. I want to bring us to Palantir for just a second here, because this is a stock that went parabolic. Okay, we'll just quickly go to the weekly here, but it still gave sizable dips. This was your weekly breakout, by the way. That was a weekly breakout for Palantir, and that was like your pullback that you got. And it came down to the 50%. From the top of the weekly, it still gave you a 50% retracement from that whole move, which so Palantir went from 1797 down to 1386. I'm looking at Palantir because I think it's important now to start studying these parabolic stocks that go on these parabolic moves. Now, I'll show you SoFi. So I want to show you SoFi. SoFi was interesting. I mean, even here, and I'm just going to be fair here and say, okay, even here, this was its weekly breakout, a gigantic weekly breakout. It came all the way down to the 0.786 or the 0.6, basically like Golden Pocket and 0.786. When it formed like this pullback. Now notice, by the way, before it did that, it made a bearish divergence right here on the weekly, which was like, buyers are getting tapped out, and it still pushed. And where I'd say where we are in NIO is we're kind of like right in this zone. Like that's kind of what NIO looks like right now. Look at NIO. It kind of look not even. It hasn't even really pulled down yet. But you got to realize at some point in time when this thing kind of peaks and it hits its top, You will get a bigger pullback. SoFi is another example. I'm going to use Hood because Hood was another example where it gave you a pretty sizable weekly breakout here. And I mean, this is your cup and handle essentially right here too. Which, if this is kind of a really good example to kind of almost compare this to NIO. If it completes that cup and handle, that's kind of what that handle would look like before you go on that parabolic rally of 50%. So that's similar to SoFi. It saw a 50% retracement. Now, if we go back to NIO, I'll take us back here, guys, and we're studying, right? So, and I know we haven't gotten at least 50% on either of these moves. So we're gonna erase our drawings here for a second. I know this wasn't that surely wasn't a 50%. That was only a 0.382. That was 0.382. So if we were to assume maybe this thing tops and taps 8, maybe we get there next week and we just get 815. Maybe it wants to overshoot. Maybe you get it 956. I mean, I actually don't know. But let's play devil's advocate. Let's say we get a giant move and we get a continuation. This is another bull flag and it pushes higher. We're going to get like 950. Actually, what was the major fib targets? I'll tell you where the next major fib target is. Let's see if I can. I don't think I remember it. What was it? It was 37, I think, 1.16. Did I do that right? I totally did not do that right. 1380. This ain't right. What was the high? I got that messed up here. I'm trying to find the next price target for you guys. What would make the most sense? It is 1439. So I'm doing this live. I'm trying to do this in one shot to you guys for this video. So I apologize for the bit of the rambling. The video will be a little bit longer here as I'm trying to figure this out live for you guys here. $8.40. Okay, let's extend this to the right so you guys can see it nicely. All right. And perhaps you get that big final push to 840, which would honestly make sense. And if $8.40 is going to be your top of this rally, which is a possibility here. Still, I still think it's possible. If that is the case, well, what would be the 50% retracement from that? Okay, make that 840. $5.29. All right, so at some point, you guys, there's going to be some sort of pullback, a correctional pullback. I'm not saying it's yet. I still don't see it, but there is signs that buyers are getting exhausted. Now, if you do see this, imagine in your head, holy shit, NIO's down 37%. And you're kind of like starting to panic, but then you're looking at the weekly velocity and it's just looking like a pullback, a normal pullback, as it did with Hood before you got that parabolic move, as it did with SoFi, SoFi was actually more dramatic. And SoFi also, by the way, was probably a heavier retail presence than it was with Hood. So it makes sense that they did a bigger pullback in the SoFi. What was another one what was the other? Palantir. Palantir probably had less of a and it did a 50% pullback on that move, on that whole weekly move. It did a 50% pullback. So I'm just trying to put that into perspective and just let y'all know that yes, I do expect a parabolic rally, but there's also going to be a correctional move that's going to end up happening. We're nearing the end of this rally. Maybe NIO's got like I don't know, a couple of weeks, 2, 3 more weeks of this. But at some point in time, you guys, you got to see something. You got to see some sort of healthy pullback. How much did this pull back, by the way? This pulled back to the golden pocket, by the way, before this went super parabolic, it came to basically the golden pocket. And I do think you're going to get something like that. Is it going to happen next week? Is it going to happen soon? No, not necessarily. I don't think so. So far, 24 hours, everything is holding still, but there's still signs of weakness, but nothing's broken. When I go all the way down to even the smaller time frames, it's only really broken on the 1 hour. And when I look at that 1 hour, by the way, you know what I see? To me, I see just like another potential bull flag that's forming here. So what I would love to see going into next week is I don't want to see NIO lose this level. I think it's a very important level, 683. Maybe it comes down, maybe a little dip, comes up for that second, and then you finally get that final hurrah, big push up, and then it will start your 50% maybe retrace, like the larger correctional move, or the golden pocket, which would be, just by the way, just so you know what that would be. If it were a larger 50%, I think would be a pretty fair target for that pullback. But if it did a much more bigger correctional move and it hit, let's just say it hit 840. And I'm just mentally preparing you guys. It's better to be mentally aware of what that would be than to be like, oh my God, should I panic? What do I do? Is it dead? A golden pocket retrace would be $4.59, and a 0.786 would be $4. Okay. Now, SoFi saw that, by the way, before it went freaking parabolic. It saw that before it went parabolic. It saw 0.786, and that's kind of what that looked like. Went up to 18, dropped to 8, and then it went back to all-time high. And by the way, now that we're kind of just looking at this, y'all want to know what this is? That, my friend, is a gigantic cup. It will produce its handle, and I don't know how big the handle will be, but of course, you could measure that move. And I know this is not an analysis, but I'm just pointing to you. This applies also to NIO for cup and handles. When you're trying to measure, like, okay, why is a cup and handle bullish? You take the top all the way to the bottom, and you can measure, okay, that's usually where it wants to aim for. Did I do that right? I definitely didn't do that right. Go like this. $52. But after, I think there will be some sort of pullback, maybe not like that big. You know, you'd probably get more of like a 50% on SoFi. But anyways, I'm just trying to let y'all know on NIO. And you look at its peers, by the way, Baidu, Baba, everything has surpassed like my expectations. It's been just nothing but like incredible, absolutely incredible performance here. So good. Like so good. I mean, if you're long on China, you should be so happy actually. But so that basically is I believe where I'm at. Like if I go to even like the 2 hours, where I kind of like totally missed it. It's holding above this trend line here. I think, in my opinion, the way it looks like is you could just be getting another bull flag, and then you get like that one last push. Actually, that's what I believe that's in the works here. That's what I'm gonna go with. Also, I wanted to share something really important. I made a new change here. Shoot. Oh, I did. Here we go. I can change the smoothing options here. Now this isn't, it's still the same indicator, but I changed kind of a little bit of the smoothing options. And I want to point out to you something that I never noticed, but remember how I promised to be better? Well, I was tinkering around actually trying to figure out like, how can I get it? The reason it's smoothened out is so that you don't get confused and miss moves. But when you're trying to catch a reversal, you don't want it smoothened too much. And you'll notice this move right here, it made a higher high, higher low. And that is something that I never looked at, and I probably could have caught if I wasn't looking at that. I look at the 24-hour time frame. Even on this faster time frame, it's still up way above, and it's still forming a higher low. Like, in my opinion, this looks like just like another bull flag. NIO is super duper strong, but I do believe it's nearing the, it's about to hit this cup here, which would make for the perfect excuse for that pullback. And it would look like this. Let's say it comes to 840. I'll draw it out. Bull flag finishes 840, and off it goes. Like you're talking, like there you go. Let's delete that. Bear? Is this bearish? Is this me being bearish? I hope this is not me being bearish. Let me know what you guys think, but I think that's essentially how you would want a cup and handle to play. Now, the beautiful thing here is this is the cup and handle inception that I'm talking about here, because this would only it would create this bigger cup, and of course, maybe it doesn't, maybe it gives you a little tiny handle there, and it would create an even bigger cup. It'll just keep creating these huge cups and handles. It might skip some of these highs. It might just go straight into 16. Right? And then up you go. Right? Perhaps from there, it just, you can just keep drawing that actually. And again, I want to bring it back to the weekly velocity here for NIO. It's so significant that it's like well and above here. We're going to put this back to, I like it more smooth. It just looks cleaner. Baidu, by the way, I think it's all going to be the same thing. They're all kind of super hot. At some point in time, you're going to get that correction. Baidu actually looks like it might just want to come all the way up here into 160. Like it just had a 17% weekly candle. Bull flag might be forming here. Let's see. Where is that like bouncing from? Probably bouncing off this. Bull flag. Baba. Yeah, Baba just cleared this, by the way. It just cleared this high. Unfreaking believable, Baba. Just unfreaking believable. And that alone, you can just argue that's your cup. If it did want to come down and give you like a 50% retrace on Baba, 141, and that kind of fits with our parallel channel that we've had drawn out here. And then it just kind of just keeps going. I think Baba's going back to all-time high. I think Baidu might actually eventually go back. Like this is tremendous, right? So much potential. I think NIO is also eventually going to get back to all-time high. And this is the start. All this like pain that we felt, guys, like for those of you that have been in NIO for a very long time, you could tell it bottomed literally right here. And then it's been nothing but straight. And all of these rallies kept getting sold off because we were below the weekly. We were below. And I think finally we're getting well and above that. But there will be a correctional move coming up. Is it going to come next week? I don't think so. I think we can see some continuation still. It still looks fantastic. It still looks strong. And I think it's forming like legitimately another like bull flag. So we already looked at Baidu kind of quick here. It looks just unreal, like so unreal. Baba too. Everything looks so unreal. Hang Seng Index, we haven't touched up on, but if we looked at it, remember how I talked about this, guys, forever and ever and ever? I talked about like, oh, it's going to come up here. That's resistance, by the way. It nailed 27,000, but we're still above. Look at this. Higher high, higher low, and look at the tops. Top here, top here, top here. We haven't reached. I think there's a shot. You could see that top come on Hang Seng where it's just like blow off the top for the Hang Seng Index, and you're seeing 30,000. And that goes in line with like cryptocurrency right now, which is kind of giving you that pullback. I do believe crypto is trying to flag here. Like, I think it's trying to flag. I don't know. Maybe it'll come down. And crypto and the Chinese market, they just go hand in hand. And I think you're going to see like 170,000. And pretty much like when this goes up, just look at that's also when China went up. They go hand in hand together. And part of that, I believe, also has to do with our US dollar, which has just been, it looks to be catching some bids and catching some momentum. It is very badly oversold, by the way. Very badly oversold. And you can see when we were below, nothing but shit price action. If you were a bull for a Dixie, being a bull on a Dixie means you're bearish. But anywho's, at some point in time, it's going to return above, and you will get that rally. You will get that rally. I want to bring your attention to the VIX, by the way. This does impact, I believe, it does have impacts towards the global market, because when like the whole major stock market goes, something goes. I want to point out something to you guys that like VIX has been like it's been garbage since like June, and we've been getting nothing but like a melt up. Garbage price action with its head popping up here. But notice that 200 moving average. It's eventually going to run out of time. And this thing is just, I think it's a pressure cooker waiting to make our next big, like really scary, like, you know, kind of like our April moment where everything dropped. I think that's going to eventually come. And that's going to be healthy. I think it'll bounce eventually from that, but it's something to keep in mind. And I'm super, and if it must be said, I'll say it again. I'm very, very bullish on NIO. So bullish. Never been more bullish on NIO. And I think it's going to go to all-time highs. I just think if you're buying in these levels at $7, just to chase it up to like 8 or 8.50, you know, you got to be careful. That's not a guarantee. But if it does that, I think there's going to be at some point like a 50, like that move down to like 5.50, which would be your, I guess not 5.50. Sorry, 5.89 maybe like 6 around there. I think like you're going to see that sizable pullback. Okay, it's going to come. Don't say I didn't warn you. We're getting like, I don't know how many days it's been. How long has this rally lasted so far? It's lasted almost 90 days. 90 days would be October the 9th. That is probably around where you probably get your top, I think, too. 90 days. Nice round number. That sums up my analysis, you guys, for NIO. I am expecting a bull flag hopefully to form here for NIO. As always, if you're making a big financial decision, please do your own due diligence, do your own research. I'm just a guy who loves the stock. I love sharing my opinion and just letting you know where the stock is going. I do think it's in a different ballgame now for NIO. It's in the now same ballgame as SoFi. I do believe it's going to be in the same ballgame for Hood I do believe it's the same ball game for Palantir, but you're early, so early. Like you guys are like right here. For you guys are right here. And notice how long it took before it said it went. Like it took a bit after the weekly, June 23rd. You didn't get like that true parabolic rally until the following year. I mean, it did rise, but it took time. And yeah, I think that's going to be the case here with Neil. That's what I truly believe. And that's it. That wraps up my analysis. That wraps up my video. If you guys have any questions, please ask the questions in the comment section below. I'll do my best to actually answer as many questions as I can if I have time. And then I'm just trying to share, I guess it's the weekend, guys. Go outside, enjoy the nice weather while you still have it before the snowfall hits. It's the weekend. Stock market's closed, so make some time to go outside, live a healthy life, go for walks, be healthy, eat healthy, live a long life. The stock market can be super duper stressful. Don't forget to de-stress. Don't forget to be healthy. That's all I got for my closing remarks, guys. Thank you so much for all of you guys who've been watching, supporting, and smashing that thumbs up button. And if you're brand new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thank you, and cheers.